Hello, project managers. Is your team spending a lot of time on non value activities like unnecessary meetings? Is your team repeating the same mistakes again and again, leading to schedule delays and cost overruns? Then it is right time for you to adopt Kaizen techniques. Let's get started. Here is the agenda for today's video. We'll start talking about the history of Kaizen first, followed by the problem context which requires us to use Kaizen. And then we'll talk about the impact of Kaizen on the problem and what are the principles that Kaizen relies on, and finally, some tools and techniques from Kaizen. Now, what exactly is Kaizen? Kaizen refers to a methodology and culture of making small, incremental improvements regularly across process, teams, and tools to enhance performance, efficiency, and quality. Now, Kaizen is all about empowering every team member to suggest, implement, and reflect on improvements. This is exactly what we call it as self-organized teams in Agile. In other words, Kaizen relies on the team members implementing the principles rather than the managing asking them to do so. Let's look at how did Kaizen originate. Post World War II, Kaizen originated in Japanese manufacturing, mostly in Toyota as a part of Toyota production system. It helped rebuild Japan's economy through a culture of continuous employee-driven improvements. It was inspired by American quality experts like Edward Demings and Joseph Uran. It was adopted by Japanese companies to achieve global competitiveness. Edward Deming went on to author a lot of books on continuous improvement. Now, over time, Kaizen expanded from manufacturing to lean, agile software development, and project management frameworks globally. Now, those who are familiar with agile principles will be able to map a lot of Kaizen principles directly with agile principles. Let us see some relevant research backed statistics that highlight common problems in project management. Now, PMI Pulse of Profession says that 35% of projects fail to meet their original goals, and that's an alarming number. Now, McKinsey's Digital PM Insight survey says that 44% of project teams report recurring process problems. Now, Gallup Workspace report says that disengaged teams are 20% less productive, and PMI Knowledge Management Study says that only 36% of organizations documented reuse lessons learned. Let's see how Kaizen helped in these scenarios. Now, Lean Enterprise Institute found out that teams using Kaizen report 30% improvement in operational efficiency. And PMI found out that continuous improvement cultures are 25% more likely to deliver projects on time. Kaizen Institute has found out that Kaizen practices reduce non-value added tasks by 15 to 40%. And finally, Gallup survey has figured out that empowered teams show 21% higher engagement and 41% lower absenteeism, which means increased participation from teams on project activities. Now, how does Kaizen manage to achieve that? Let's check out the principles that drive Kaizen practices. Kaizen is all about continuous improvement. If I have to describe Kaizen in two words, I will use the word continuous improvement. Now, continuous improvement promotes ongoing learning and enhancement through the project lifecycle. The second principle that Kaizen follows is to eliminate waste. Now, for those who are familiar with lean principles, you can recognize this. Eliminating waste is identifying non-value adding tasks and removing them, right? Example, redundant meetings or duplicate efforts. Now, the third principle says empower everyone. Now, this enables every team members to contribute improvements, suggestions during retrospectives. For those who are familiar with agile practices, can identify this with self-organized teams. Now, the fourth principle says standardize whatever works. Now, you can document and replicate successful processes or templates across projects, right? You would like to repeat successful practices. Now, fifth principle says focus on process. Now, this can be used to improve systems, workflows, not just fix people or blame individuals. The sixth principle says use data to drive change. Now, you can base improvements on performance, metrics, and feedback, or not just gut feeling. Now, the last principle here says go to the source. In other words, go to the root cause of the problem. You can observe the actual work environment, or tool chain to identify bottlenecks. Now let's explore few Kaizen techniques that you can take home. The most popular technique in Kaizen is PDCA. Now, PDCA is an acronym for Plan, Do, Check, and Act. Now, PDCA is a structured framework to test and implement improvements. It's commonly used during retrospectives or after issue resolution. Now, every project activity that you do, you can let it go through the PDA cycle. In the plan phase, you will plan for your work. In the do phase, you will execute the plan or follow the plan. In the check phase, you will verify the plan versus actual, and if there are any discrepancies between the plan and the actual, you will try and identify the root cause of the problem and act on the root cause of the problem in the action phase. And you will repeat this cycle after cycle. This is a continuous improvement cycle. You can identify this with the Agile life cycle, and you can find practices in Agile like retrospective and sprint demo using this principle. Second, we have 5 whys analysis. Now here we ask why 5 times to uncover the root cause of recurring issues like delays or defects. It involves repeatedly asking why to drill down from a problem to its underlying cause. Now, while the number 5 is common, the actual number of iterations needed can vary depending on the problem's complexity. The third technique we have is visual management. Now, we can use Kanban boards, burn down charts, or dashboards to make progress blockers and priorities transparent. Now, this technique can be used to increase visibility for the team members. The last technique we would discuss is the Gemba Walk. A Gemba Walk is a management practice rooted in lean principles where leaders go to the Gemba. Gemba is nothing but the place where the work is done. Why do they do that? They do that to observe process, engage with employees, and identify areas for improvement. It's about understanding the actual work being done and fostering a culture of continuous improvement. In simple terms, Kaizen is about improving processes, products, and people by making small and thoughtful changes every day. The idea is that many small improvements, when added together, leads to significant long-term results. If you are interested in our PMP project management course, you can click the link in the description or call or WhatsApp us. And if this video helped, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it for more content on project management. See you in the next video.